I'm Ruby and I will be your host for the day. Before I move ahead, a big thank you for making our very first day of Talent Tech Evolve such a huge success. We are absolutely overwhelmed with the response we received from our partners, our speakers, and of course, you, the audience. We had more than 8,000 talent professionals who registered with us on the platform, and they came from across 80 countries, making this a truly global conference. Our social reach crossed 2 million, and thousands of talent professionals attended sessions and engaged with partners and peers in the networking lounge. Isn't that just awesome? This enriching experience would not have been possible without the trust and the support of our partners. So I'll just take a quick moment to thank each one of them. I'd like to thank our diamond partner, Oracle, our talent search partner, Indeed, our education technology partner, Degreed, our learning and technology partner, Paradigm, our HR technology partner, PeopleStrong, our talent assessment partner, Metal, our digital learning partner, Skillsoft, and our startup exhibitors, Time to Know and Tomorrow Co-Create. Well, if this is the first time you're registering, I'd like to take a quick minute to walk you through the platform. And if you were already with us yesterday, then please stay tuned in for the session to begin. So you've already entered the session through the lobby. There are a couple of things that you need to remember. One would be the auditorium section. That's where all the sessions today and tomorrow would be happening. Then there is the exhibition space, the exhibition hall, where you can interact with our partners at their respective booths. Then we have the networking zone, which is actually the lifeline of the entire conference, because this is where you can interact with your peers, our partners, and our speakers as well. Please also do not miss out on the leaderboard, because some selected activities will get you a chance to win an Xbox, and you can find the list in the terms and conditions section on the page. So keep engaging, learning, and sharing, and stand a chance to win an Xbox. You can use the quiz section to enter the secret codes that you can capture during the sessions to participate in the ongoing context. Also, please do not forget to make the best use of the Q&A section during the sessions. This is your opportunity to seek your answers from industry experts. Well, now, ladies and gentlemen, the stage is all set, and we're about to begin with the first session of Day 2 of Talent Tech Evolve 2018. Our first session of the day is a panel discussion on M&A integration, maximizing return on talent. In today's business world, people are the driving force behind value creation and a strategic driver in M&A, but also the single source of M&A derailment, as more than 80% of integration problems stem from people issues. Learn from an expert panel how to maximize the chances of deal success through talent. I'd like to introduce the panelists. We have with us Yuvraj Srivastava, Group CHRO, Make My Trip. Now, Yuvraj needs no introduction. He's an HR professional with more than 20 years of corporate HR experience and 5.5 years of experience with the Indian Armed Forces as commissioned officer. In the HR leadership role for almost 12 years. He currently leads human resource for combined entities of Make My Trip, Go Ibivo, and Red Bus. To chair this session, it's my pleasure to invite Mumbi, Chief Human Resources and Training Officer, Zanaco. Mumbi is a human resource professional with more than 17 years of experience in leading human resource programs for large, reputable institutions, and has a very strong background in employee relations and strategic planning. I'd request Mumbi to take this discussion forward. Thank you so much. I would like to welcome both of you to this discussion. Over to you, Mumbi, and thank you so much.
Thanks, Ruby. Thank you so much.
Yes, Mumbi. We can start the discussion now. So, Mumbi, you have a couple of questions. Oh, we can't hear you? Hi, Mumbi. I think while Mumbi tries to reconnect with us, Yuvraj, why don't we at least start with, I've done a very brief introduction of you, so maybe we can use this time to have a quick introduction from your end. I don't think I did justice to what you've been, the personality that you are, so please go ahead.
Thanks a lot, Ruby, for introduction, and nice to see you here on screen. I think we have been reading you, and you have been participating and connecting on various articles what you have been writing on HR. So great to see you here. A great opportunity for all of us to really interact and share our thoughts with the people around the globe. As you said, simply astounding to really know that there are 80 countries from where people are participating, more than 8,000 registration for the Talent Tech Evolve. Great to be part of this panel. I think for me, a quick introduction you already gave. I think that I've been in the industry for 20 years. And now, the last 4 years or so, I've been leading HR for the Make My Trip as a company. And, last year we saw this merger with the Go Ibibo and Redbus, which was a historical event in the industry, like online travel portals. And prior to that, I had been with PepsiCo for 4.5 years, with Asian Paints, Oberoi, hotels. So I think experience around the industry in different sort of a role. And it will be nice to share with all the participants whatever had been my learning in last 1.5 years while we got into this whole merger with the Make My Trip, Go Ibibo and Redbus. And I think that's what the topic is when it comes to today's session. So I would like to really share some of my learnings and definitely try to do justice with the questions which have been asked by Mumbi. If you have to wait for her to really come online. I think that we also had a participant, Boone, was supposed to be joining us from Singapore, who's a UX professional. I think that he's traveling somewhere. He should also be online in a while. So I can see now Mumbi back on screen. So Mumbi, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. I can hear you.
Over to you. Over to you.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Ruby, and apologies about that technical hitch that we just had. Thank you so much. I think we do have a great discussion that we will be having today. I just want us to just have a chat.
Hi, this is Boone joining as a panelist.
Hi, Boone, welcome.
Welcome. We've just started.
Hi, Yuvi. Hi, Mumbi.
Thank you so much for joining us. Mumbi, Boone has joined us, so time for us to start here. Boone, in fact, I was unable to introduce you, so I'll just do a quick introduction while Mumbi comes back. So Boone Chong is the Managing Director, Consulting Southeast Asia, Aon Hewitt. Boone manages Aon's human capital consulting business in Southeast Asia and has more than 25 years of experience in consulting in Southeast Asia and Greater China on corporate governance, executive compensation, public sector pay, organization transformation, post-merger integration, and talent management. We welcome you, Boone, to the panel discussion.
Thank you.
Yuvraj, I think, by the time Mumbi, I think she's facing small technical glitches here. So let's begin with the discussion. Boone is here, Yuvraj, you're already here. We've done our introductions. So should we just, dive
so I think,
into the discussion?
To kick off the conversation, Boone, welcome to the session. While Mumbi is facing a bit of challenge in her connectivity, let's just start off and discuss some of the relevant areas. And I'm sure that with your huge experience around mergers and acquisitions, you'll be in position to throw a lot of light on.
Hello.
Hi, Mumbi.
Hello. I'm
Hi,
just
this
losing.
is.
No, this is.
I just rejoined. Yeah.
Yes, Mubi, you can hear all of us now, right?
I can hear you now,
Super.
but I
Please,
just said
please
I'm
go.
not able to see you.
We'll come online. We'll come on the screen, yeah.
Okay.
Yes, Yuvraj? And Mumbi, we lost you somewhere. Please continue. Mumbi, you can hear me?
Okay, now I can hear you.
Please go ahead.
Can you hear me? Okay. Apologies. I'm not sure what, Yuvraj, could you just shed some light on what you just discussed just now so I can just take it up from there? Can you hear me?
I can hear you, Mumbi. This is Boone. I just got knocked out 2 times, and I just re-entered. I'm not sure what was discussed.
Okay, I've also just gotten back. I also just lost connectivity. I'm not sure what it is that happened, but I wasn't able to hear. So Boone, you can hear me, right? Yuvi, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay. Yuvi, can you hear?
Absolutely. All good. I could hear everyone.
You can hear everyone? Okay.
Yes, yes.
All right. Okay. So what we could do, Boone, if you can hear, what I would like you to just shed some light on is what is it about mergers and acquisitions that drive such a fuss for us in this particular conversation, particularly as it pertains to talent?
Sure. Well, if you look at the why companies acquire, it is mostly about gaining access to new markets or to new capabilities, which is about growth. Keeping talent is key to follow through with the growth driver. You need the talent to stay close to the customers if you are acquiring to access new markets or new customers. You need the technical talent to continue with product development. Mm-hmm. Now, there are companies who acquire to achieve economies of scales in a saturated market. This is where redundancies and talent outflow, as well as having an opportunities to do some talent rebalancing. For example, taking the best and weeding out the weakest since you have excess headcount.
Yeah. But
when you look at the statistics on success in M&As, successful cases are in the minority. And a major factor being cited is always being retention, culture, engagement type of issues. Yeah. I think there lies the importance of talent in M&As.
Yeah. Okay, that's excellent. So now, because of the conversation that we'll be having around integration, I think you raised some very valid points around the fact that a number of times what gets cited as the reasons for some of the failures that are associated with integrations is the retention, culture, and talent. However, my understanding is that there would be different types of integrations, isn't it? Would you just shed some light on what type of integrations do we typically have? Or should, as HR leaders,
I would say, sure. Yeah, I would say 2 major types. One would be what I call portfolio investment versus a transformative type of M&A. The former is more of buying a business to bolt onto your existing businesses as an add-on, but there's no overlap in the operations. Therefore, it is less disruptive to the merged entities. The integration issues here is more about management control and looking at whether there's any cost synergies in the back office. Contrasting that with a transformative type of merger, where 2 entities are merging together, where there is significant overlap. This would require brand name change, location, physical location move, employment disruptions, etc., where speed and the style of merging need to take into account.
Okay. Okay, all right, that's great. Thank you so much, Bon, for that insight. I think another thing then that would then, like when you look at the transformative type of integration, I would imagine that the type of due diligence that you would have to undertake in a case like that might be different from one which is maybe just acquiring a portfolio. Would you just shed some light from the experience that you have had around the level of integrate or the level of due diligence that you would have to undertake to support a transformative type of due diligence?
Sure. Yeah, I think we would see due diligence as a the due diligence from the pre-signing to the pre-closing stage. The information would initially be more liability related, such as the HR liabilities, is there any potential labor issues, the compliance issues, etc. And this would fit into the price and terms negotiation with the seller, together with the other business and functional input from legal, from the operations folks, finance folks, etc. Once the deal is
I think we lost Boon somewhere there. So maybe we can take the question with Yuvraj.
Yes, sure. Thank you so much. I think what we began to get from Boon was just some insights into the types of due diligence that you would take, like particularly where you're in the beginning to enable you make a decision or be able to appreciate the cost of the business or how much are going to pay. You will be doing, you'll be understanding the liabilities and the state at where the company is at. And now when you've done, after you've done a due diligence, you're now beginning to get into integration. It'll be interesting, UV, for you to shed some light. UV, can you hear?
I can hear you. Can just repeat once again?
Sure, no problem. So what I was saying was that one of the things that when you're undertaking an integration, it's very important to keep our eyes focused on what is critical, and to stay focused on the priorities. What would you recommend as the key priorities to focus on during an integration?
So I think, can you see me? Can you hear me? Am I okay? Am I audible,
yes,
visible? Yeah, fair.
Yes.
So, I think my experience, Mumbai, had been very unique, and it was great to really work on an integration project of Make My Trip and Go Ibibo and Redbus, 3 companies coming together. And last year, around first quarter, to create the biggest online travel platform in India. And I think that we became one of the most important and customer loved brand with the help of 3 very, very strong brands coming together. My learning in the whole process had been few. And I think as an HR professional, as a talent professional, it's very, very important for everyone to really focus on what is needed to be done in the first phase. What should be really picked up in the second phase, though it looks very, very interesting on the face of it. And what you should still keep looking for an opportunity to really bring in and integrate. So, and I basically would like to really put it in 2 quadrants. First, I'll say execute immediately, right? So if one has to look at what should be executed immediately, I would say that first thing from the HR team should be that HR should align its structure to ensure that the right people are sitting with the right business leaders to help them, enable them, and also work with them to really go through the process of this whole integration, right? So that becomes foremost thing. Within few days, you should really try to kick it off. And you should get your best of the people to really be a business partner for the business leaders.
Yeah.
Second, when it comes to overall from the talent perspective, my learning had been that there should be a quick process of identifying top talent or the critical talent in the merging and the merged organization, or as an overall entity, which are the critical talents and which are the important people holding critical roles who can really get affected and start filling in sequence. So one should have a list of all such people available with you, and you should clearly create a plan to really ring fence them and ensure that they continue to be a part of the system and don't get really threatened with the whole process. I also look at as a focus area from the immediate perspective from HR point of view is the communication agenda, because when the process of integration and merger happens, a lot of time information reaches to people which are not very, very correct. There's a lot of grapevine which keeps going around. People love to speculate. People love to think what's happening. And that's the time before anything becomes and snowballs into a major controversy. Strong communication agenda should be led, right? Whether involved forums, leaders should speak, what sort of a communication should be released in case it's a question of structuring, perhaps a structuring communication should go out, what we are holding in from doing. If that also needs to be informed people, it should be really going out. So communication agenda is the third thing which I feel is important. And from employee point of view and the talent point of view, I again see it as there are certain policies which impact employees of all both organizations, right? There are plethora of policies and the guidelines and SOPs what you really work with. You need to pick and choose which are those which are going to impact employees per se on the face of it immediately. For an example, in case there are sales force in both the organizations and they have a different sort of a policy when it comes to travel, when it comes to entitlements, I think that is which is going to impact employees immediately. So you first quickly identify such policies, holidays, leave calendars and all that. So these are things which should be done immediately. And I think while you are doing this whole process of executing something with immediacy, one should also be looking and planning for the second wave. And from my point of view, I again look at second wave with 3 bullet points. One is leave aside level harmonization, comp alignment, who's sitting at what level and all that stuff, conversation maybe for the later part. Don't get into it immediately because everyone has their levels and compensations and designations in the context in which they existed earlier. One can't really jump onto it and try to correct and bring everybody together. So I think that is something which you should plan, go very, very deliberate, maybe take sufficient time to really get onto that. Other thing which is also to be planned while you do certain things immediately is align performance matrices for both the organizations. Align performance matrices for the people in both the organizations. It should not really happen that organization A, which used to really be getting 100% reward for doing what work, people in organization B get around 90% out of that. So how do you really define matrices of performance for both the organizations and rewards aligned with it clearly in the second wave? One should start planning. It's not a simple exercise, but I think one needs to really start getting doing that. And third thing and most important for the second wave, I look at it as work on all culture and values, but don't rush into it. Everybody exists with the values. Everybody comes through a belief system. Don't try to create something which is overarching right at the outset. Hold on, let people settle down, give it 5-6 months time, then start doing pulses. So that becomes my third element for the second. So these are the focus areas, how I look at it, Mumbai, when it comes to working. And I think if one has these things in mind, one can really, really work on it in a very, very systematic manner.
That's great. Earlier on, thank you so much, Yuvi. Earlier on, Boone did highlight that they are some of the things that tend to affect the success of integration tends to tie around a lot around how we manage the people aspect. And I think some things that definitely come to mind around that challenge is about the communication. And what comes to my mind is when you look at what you shared earlier, Yuvi, the grapevine. If you have a situation where the senior management is not aware of what is going on with regards mergers and acquisition, because a lot of it is being done from a shareholder point of view, then it tends to affect the level of communication that then gets cascaded to the rest of the organization. The other interesting thing is the issue around culture, and I've come to see when I've read somewhere where it says that culture eats strategy for breakfast, and you get to see to what extent that means, because if you're trying to integrate two very different cultures, if you're not aware of what the cultures are, it would definitely have an impact on how well you succeed. I'll give a very quick example of one integration that I was supporting, where the buying entity was one which was very formal type of communication, writing down everything that they communicate and how they make the decisions, and buying an entity that was very informal. They made the decisions via phone calls, and it was a lot of face-to-face type of meetings and interaction. Whereas in the other entity, it was more, it was largely email. It had to be formal letters, formal memos to communicate or finalize any communication. And bringing the two together definitely posed challenges. And so what I got to realize that it's very important to understand the cultures that you are bringing together. And now from there, what would be good for us to just touch on there is, in ring fencing, when an integration will create discomfort, it will create a fear and uncertainty for top talent. And the reality is that the top talent are the easiest people to go because they've got opportunities outside. What would you say are some things that would be important to ring fence or to manage the employee turnover that can easily kick into an organization? So we could, maybe Boone can give some comments on that.
Sure. The most common mode would be a retention bonus based on the given out to identified talent. That's the most common mode. Now, how effective it is, I think that's always questionable. What I find in practical terms, what is most effective would be pulling them aside, pulling the selected talent aside, has a separate conversation to say that, don't worry, a lot of things are still unclear. You may not be clear about what job you'll be getting in the new organization, but making sure that you are on the radar screen of the senior management. I would also even take it one step further. When it comes to integration planning, a lot of teams need to be set up, integration managers, functional teams, etc. And that's the best time to get your best talent to be involved in those integration.
Excellent, thank you so much. And the other thing that is also, before you come in, UV, I just thought I would like you to add on a couple of things as you come in, is one of the things that HR leaders, I think we've talked about the challenges that would be faced, and we've talked about the challenges that would be faced when you're managing an integration. And we've also talked about you've also highlighted some priority areas to focus on. Now, in order for us to ensure that what we are doing, especially as HR leaders, is not resulting in failure, but we want to increase the chances of success, what are some of those things that we need to look out for as HR leaders? And I'd like Yuvi to speak a little bit into that, and then we can also have some insights come through from Boone as well.
So thank you. In fact, just wanted to add a bit on what earlier Boone was saying, in terms of how do you really ring fence and ensure people remain a part of the flock. I think Mumbi and Boone, my experience had been that the moment some exercise like this happens, everybody wants to look, feel, and be treated as important people in the system, right? How do you really take care of that personal recognition need of every individual in the process becomes very important, right? While you do a lot of things in terms of ring fencing, in terms of financial, non-financial, but biggest need of people at that point of time is that they should feel included in the whole process of merger, integration, and also creating value. And how can that really happen? My experience had been that, what we did was that we did a lot of work around creating role clarity for people, right? People were used to be confused that, am I supposed to be doing this or somebody else will do it? Who's supposed to be responsible? Who's accountable? Whom should I go and take the instructions? So what we realized that if you want to engage people in the whole process, first you create a team wherein people are given projects to really drive those synergies which are needed as a part of the merger, and also speak and give them a role clarity, who's supposed to be doing what. So we use that framework of DICE, what you call it as decide, implement, consult, and execute sort of a thing for everyone. And that basically created a lot of energy and a lot of importance for people. So that was something which was worked out. Besides that, what Boone was alluding to was anyway a part of it. Also what we did was we ensured that people are evaluated objectively for the type of role they are good for, right? While you can have a lot of biases around it, but when it comes to two merged entities, everybody comes from a perspective. Important was to be very, very upfront, objective in terms of what sort of a role you are giving it to people, right? And that again created a bit of traction around it. And I think that I must say that, all our ring fence talent or the top talent, we still have, 90% retention of all those guys, and all those people who have left, we can still say that they were compelling reasons around their departure. But I think all critical people still got retained in the system, and they continue to work with us. Coming to you, what you were saying is in terms of challenges. So first was I was saying protecting the pride and esteem of all team members. You have to ensure that esteem and pride of being with a brand should really be protected as a HR leader. While you are evaluating people for various roles, ensure that there is an objectivity in terms of the decision making, and bring in role clarity and structural changes to be very, very quick and well explained to people. I think this becomes again something very critical from the retention point of view, and if it is not done, then it creates a huge amount of challenge within the system.
Great. Yeah. Boone, thank you so much, Yuvi. Boone, any insights around some dipsticks that we could do or some checks that we could look out for as HR leaders during an integration to help us ensure that we are on the right track and we'll be able to achieve that?
Yeah, I think when we talk about communication, sometimes we take it as more of one way. We're communicating where the merger is going. I think communication, as we all know, a good practice would be a two-way communication, and how HR leaders could use communication to get a better sense on 4 questions. I would put them down as 4 questions. One is, do people understand where the merged entity is heading? What is the purpose and the direction? Number 2, do they know their roles in the new direction and what is expected of them? I think that comes back to what Yuvi talked about in terms of designing the roles and best fit for the roles. Number 3, do they have the capabilities to perform the new roles? What are the learning and development support they will get, etc. Then I think the last one is very much what's in it for them when they perform the new role successfully. That's where rewards and recognition need to be realigned. Do people understand these things? Do they feel excited about it? I think the dipsticks would be pretty much along those lines, I would suggest.
Okay, that's great.
Yeah,
thank you so much. I also thought, yes, Yuvi?
In fact, I wanted to add a couple of points to what Boone was talking about, very, very relevant. In our case, what we did and what we led as HR team in the organization, and what my experience has been that, I think while you do various surveys and dipsticks with people, you need to have your own ways of keeping the pulse on the mood of the organization. How do you really connect with people on a regular basis is absolutely fine. We also deployed a very innovative chat-based AI tool called Amber, which basically goes to people and asks questions which are very, very non-intrusive and comes back and gives us a feedback around the sentiments. What we also said that what energy to people will reach only in case you can communicate with them on the strategic synergy projects, what were identified and how well we are doing on it. So if people start getting an update on the strategic projects and how value is getting created within the organization, it really helps them and it gives an idea of the success of the whole process. Other metrics for identifying the success, what I have felt is that every organization has a lot to learn from each other, right? How openly people have started accepting best practices, how openly people have started recognizing and acknowledging the fact that, this is what the best practice in so team, we have picked it up and have started driving it within our own system. So how quickly the best practices are getting adopted, even if they're smaller, that shows acceptability of people within the organization about each other's capability. And last point around this is that, dipstick is best when you reward people and recognize people in this whole process of integration, how this whole rewards and recognition is being perceived. Is it being perceived fair? Is it being perceived objective? If that be so, I think people do really make a lot of sense, and it gives an idea that yes, things are moving in the right direction. Because in Indian context, I think some of the metrics in terms of employee engagement, attrition is very market driven, right? And if it is very market driven, it can mislead you in a very different direction. So in case there's a high attrition in a team which has got merged, it may not really be because of any issues emerging out of the merger or acquisition. It may be because of very, very different factors. So I think focus on metrics which can create pride and value for the employees and talk about it. I think that makes a lot of sense. And that's how I perceive that, overall success of the process can really be defined. Boon, am I right? Do you concur with us?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, great. So one of the things I'd also thought of sharing as well was any models that we may have used that could help other HR leaders in helping manage a transition. And so one of the things I just wanted to shed some light on is a model that I got familiar with it's a Ken Blanchard model on leading people through change and being able to recognize that this is a real change that employees are going to go through. And so what I just want to do is just take a minute and just share with you the model. I hope you can see the screen. Can you see the model?
Yeah.
It's a model called Leading People Through Change. I just wanted to shed some light around that. And one of the things that was very valuable about working through this model was getting an understanding of working people, how as leaders, we need to be mindful of the stages of concern that employees would go through in any change. And an integration process, it's a big change that employees would have to be going through. And to the point that also was raised earlier by both, I think both Ruby and Yuvi have spoken to that, is when you look at the stage of information, the stage of information is addressing the what and why are we doing this, what is the purpose of what we are doing. And when we go to personal stage of concern, we are now starting to look at what does this mean for me? What are my roles and responsibilities? Do I have the capability to actually undertake this? And then you also have implementation, which then talks about, what do we need to do? What are the tools? What facilities do we have that will help us be able to manage this integration or undertake these new roles and responsibilities, or be able to work together as a team? And so the reason I wanted to just highlight the stages of concern or using this particular model is not to say that it's a model we all should use, but it's a model that personally I have found very helpful in leading people, in supporting people through a change process. And this model has worked very well for me. So I just thought, just for maybe a minute, maybe if either for Yuvi and Ruby to just speak into what type of models are you familiar with, even just one model each that you could share with the participants, that they can pick something that they can work with to support them as they manage this change and manage the integrations that they have to deal with. So we'll start with Yuvi, then we'll go to Ruby, then we'll need to leave a few minutes to take some questions from our.
Okay, so you want me to share a model? I think I can do that.
A model, or a model that you may be familiar with, or a framework that you may be familiar with in addition.
Ruby, there's a last slide. I don't know. I had sent a couple of documents. There was last slide on that. In case that can really be flashed. I don't have it on my screen.
Flashing that. Just give me a moment.
Yeah. Last, there was 3x3 matrix, what you can see on the last page. So, what while she pulls it out, what I believed and what I've championed also, that integration process has to be looked at as a process to create value for the stakeholders. That's your prime objective, right? Organization has to create value for the stakeholders. And if that value is getting created, employees also being part of the value chain, they also see a lot of sense in it. And most important thing is that deploy everybody on something which is very, very meaty and help people identify right stuff. And how do you identify or how do you help people to identify right areas to work? So what model we used, Mumbai, to really identify right projects to pick up was, I think we looked at a matrix of 3 on a x-axis put up as selective breakthrough opportunities. Okay. As a merger, what are those selective breakthrough opportunities as a joint entity you are looking at? Capture synergies, where all you have synergies. And third, look at projects which can help protect current business. In the process of integration, it shouldn't happen that what you have in hand also starts slipping down. And on the y-axis, you plot, so not this is, I can't share my slide, right? And on the other axis, we had looked at what are those projects. Yeah, so I think the last one, this is great. Last one, Ruby. So this is the model what we use to really pick up projects which can energize people and also create opportunities. So pick up areas to work on as selective breakthrough opportunities, capture synergies, and protect business. And identify these projects keeping in mind what will give you faster growth, what will come at the right cost, and what will energize people. And in every 9 boxes, if every function starts putting at the projects and the areas to work upon, this becomes a very strong model to really pick projects, work on it, and go forward and start talking about these projects as the process of integration. And I think this was very, very successful. And we treated this as a template to really create projects for the integration.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Yuvi, for sharing that. So maybe, Boon, you could just share, then we'll take Ruby, will guide us on a question that is coming through from our participants. So Boon, any model or framework that you would like to share with our participants that we can look at?
Mumbi, you posed me a very difficult question. Being a consultant, we use all different models. But if I may just use an analogy, that was meant to be a joke, but I'll just share with an analogy. We always talk about the train of change. That when the train is coming, you don't want to be standing in the track and get run over by the train. You want to be on the train of change. You don't want to be bystander. But I like to share what a client CHRO said to me. He used the same train of change analogy, but he said, train has many different stations. You pick up different people along the way. Not everybody will be able to handle the change as rapidly as the top talent. I think we're in the talent management business. We recognize today the businesses are not run by top talent alone. Then you also have the middle talent, you have the lower people, etc. There are different segments of people. You need to bring them along that change journey. And I like that train station analogy.
Great, thank you so much. So Ruby, do we have some key questions that we could pick up from our audience, from our participants?
We've picked up 2 questions, and I'll just post that here. So the first question that has commonly come from the audience is, how can technology help in M&A integration? Can you share examples on how technology can support leadership communication, building trust, ability to listen more effectively? And Mumbi, this is an open question, so please feel free, Boon or Mumbi or Yuvraj to answer this.
Okay, so Boon, would you shed some light on that?
Sure. We use technology to creating a website to help global clients to do their global due diligence and post-merger integration. End-to-end from due diligence stage where there is e-room that facilitates all the documents to be deposited there to be reviewed by the various teams, all the way to integration planning, templates, etc., communication. Is a fantastic, when we're looking at the, it's a fantastic tool when it is a complex, multi-location, multi-business units type of integration.
Okay, great. Yuvi, any pointers, any 1 or 2 points that you share as well on using technology to build trust?
So, we are a technology and product company, and so we try to really use technology for everything. So we try to keep slightly away from technology when it comes to people to bring in that element. Otherwise, people are very, very comfortable with technology. So, but having said that, 2 things I'll say. Very, 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 basic. I think after merger, we had what technology we are using to really communicate. Zoom put in everywhere in the office to connect with people, then in Bangalore office or a business development offices, or in current office where I'm sitting, I think we have around 1,300 people sitting here, and we have at least 15 to 18 rooms which are Zoom enabled, and people do communicate and talk to each other. So communication was greatly enabled. We realized that leaders can't really reach everywhere, so this platform is used extremely, extremely well to communicate with employees across and share the thought. And second is, as I had said, that not a dipstick, but we use Amber as a technology to get the chatbots talking to employees on their different life stage to get feedback about how they are feeling, if there's something working or not. And that feedback comes straight away to me. It's a AI or a chatbot. It's an assistant of Yuvraj. It goes to every employee, says that I'm Yuvraj's assistant. I have a set of questions to you. And it just straight away gets back to me with a feedback. And then technologically, I can set up one-on-one. Technologically, I can talk to people and get back to them and answer them. I have an anonymous feedback box wherein people are also allowed to really go and put some feedback there. So I'm very prompt. Every day morning, I clear it. I also fix up my appointments with people to talk across the country, wherever they are. So I think to keep pulse on people and to also explain progress and where we are going, we are using technology pretty well. That's what my examples.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Ruby, any other question that we can take up?
Absolutely. There's so many questions streaming in, but we'll take one last question because there's paucity of time. And what we'll do is we'll pick up the rest of the questions in the networking zone. So after the session is over, all of us will proceed towards the networking zone. The last question that I'm picking up is sometimes in M&A situations, you need to integrate HR technology systems that do not fit each other. Now, how do you decide what technology stays and what goes away? How do you manage this transition?
So I think, can I take this?
Please do.
So I think thanks a lot to anyone who has asked this question. I think this was one very, very relevant and important point I had missed out. And thanks, Ruby, for picking this up. And thanks to the person who has asked this question. I think we were posed with a very unique set of situations, right? Payrolls in all these 2 companies used to work on a different platform. Employees Central used to work on a very different platform. Evolution of HR technology in both the organizations was at a very, very different stage. We did we think that we did a smart thing. We basically picked up new vendor to create a platform which can be unique to both the organizations. While we picked up best practices, like we went on to doing payroll with a vendor which was doing for one organization, we picked up the complete employee central process, recruiting software, employee database to a completely new vendor who can really bring in a lot of additional elements. So we did huge amount of due diligence, worked with a lot of vendors, and finally we have integrated the complete HRIS of all 3 organizations together. The work is in progress, but I think that we are almost 80 to 90% there. Important is that really start looking at processes available across the organizations very objectively and what will solve for the scale. Because a lot of time what happens, smaller organizations will have something which is very, very smart, quick fix, but that may not be sustainable. That may not really work for the long term. Even if you have to invest a bit, please do that, but get onto a platform which is sustainable, far more modern, far more fast and efficient, and has features which will work for you. Don't have a lot of love lost with what you have been doing. Important is to do the right thing for the organization. So we moved on to a new platform, and we are almost in the process of completing our complete integration and execution and implementation of that.
Great.
Mubi, can I make add a point here?
Yes, please do. We have a couple minutes, yeah.
Thank you. We see that there's a trend towards moving away from the best of breed technology. By that, I mean the best payroll system, the best talent management, the best HRIS, etc. We see a move away from that to more of a consolidation on one platform. Yeah. For the reasons of having all the data on one platform to allow analytics, enhance employee experience in going beyond just operational efficiency. So I think this is the question throughout a challenging issues. If you have both using a, which one do you choose? But if you are using, there's room for dating into one platform out of the merger.
Great. Thank you so much, Ben. I think that's a very, very valid point. Thank you so much as well, Yuvi, for the insights around what you had to undertake. I think that's very, very helpful. And just to relate a little bit to the experience that you talked about, Yuvi, is there's also some value in being able, like what you said, assessing the technology that is going on in the two entities and being able to make a call to actually pick a completely different technology that will support. And I think very valid point also coming through from Ruby as to where are we going as HR, where we want a consolidated platform. I think that becomes very valuable to take into account in making a decision on which technology do you pick. And I think a fundamental point raised by Yuvi is be clear about what is it that you want. Where do you want, what do you want to be able to do with that technology? What are the efficiencies? What are the deliverables? What are the outcomes that you desire to get? And be willing to spend some money and be willing to forgo certain technologies that may not be able to deliver that value for you. So with just a minute to go, Ruby, I don't think we've got time to take any question at this stage.
Yes, unfortunately not. But like I mentioned before, let us all proceed towards the networking zone where all the other questions, there are around 25, 26 more questions that are already pending to be answered. So would request, Mumbi and Boon and Yuvraj after the session to go towards, the networking zone. So Mumbi, yes, we would like a closing word. Yeah, please take it ahead.
Ruby, before that, I think there are questions on the in the Q&A session.
Yes.
And I think they're relevant to be answered. Is there an opportunity of answering it on the networking platform, or this can really be done offline?
Yes, on the networking platform, for sure.
Networking platform, yeah.
So these questions would be available there, right?
Yes. We'll make them available. If we miss out on anything, we'll definitely make these questions available.
Because so there are some very relevant questions.
Yeah, very interesting ones, So we'll do that right after. Very good question.
Okay.
Yes, Mumbi, yeah. A closing word?
Thank you so much. Thank you so much to Boon and to Yuvi and Ruby as well for just this discussion. I think it's a very, very important discussion. As HR leaders, we definitely have a big responsibility on supporting a successful integration. And the more we learn and pick learnings from one another, the more successful we can support. The better we are able to support successful integrations. Yuvi, very great insights that we've gotten from you. Boon, very great insights as well that we have gotten from you as well. And we would obviously encourage that we all move over to the networking zone and that we can pick up some very, very good questions on culture. And I think it would be valuable for us to just shed some light on that. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot,
Thank
Mumbi.
you.
Thanks a lot for
That's
answering. Thanks,
wonderful.
Ruby. Great
Yeah,
connecting with everyone.
Yes, thank you so much, Mumbi, Boon, and Yuvraj for such an engaging session and a lot of learning from each one of you. And a couple of learnings that have stayed back with me, of course, are few words like aligning, engaging, adopting best practices, learning from each other, and involving top talent. I'm sure there are many learnings that our audience also has, and they would love to share it. So over to the networking zone. But before we move on, please note down the secret code, and this is for the audience. The secret code for this session is hashtag MTalent8. M as in merger, so that's hashtag MTalent8, that's numeric 8. And please do visit our partner and exhibitor booths, chat with them, take quizzes. You need to earn some brownie points to, strengthen your position on the leaderboard. The next session would be after 20 minutes on the role of AI in HR transformation, a use case demonstration by Oracle. Once again, a big thank you, Mumbi, Yuvraj, and Boon. This was a fantastic session. We look forward to engaging with you in the networking zone. Thank you so much and happy learning.
Thank you so much. Thanks a lot. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.